paint. No, we never came out that way. That's just the little wraparound body there that we ran when we first came back. This is at Seattle itself. So you can see it's looking a little humble up there, you know. I never ran a car like that, but in 3 days, what were you going to do, you know? And so then we slipped then we slipped the body onto the thing.
Someone told me this was originally intended for the dual Buick car.
The inline dual Buick car. I sold the twin motor car when I was back east when I was done with the tour. So that gave me money to build the 4-motor car. I wish I had these old cars, but each car supported the next one. As soon as we got the 4-motor car done, just about that weekend, they said, okay, you can run fuel again, so much for the 4-motor car. So I sent it back east, and I was building a twin-engine inline just for me to play around with. So, but of course, the Chrysler took it over. Then we went ahead and finished off the body on the thing.
Now this is weekly.
That's weekly. Storm and Norman. I used to call them light rains just to keep them all excited. sort of like the wave maker Prieto. Well, when I send them an email, I call them ripples, and it stirs them up. You know how that deal goes. Yeah, this is still we didn't run it too terribly long with that. And weekly, as a matter of fact, this might have been taken down in San Diego. I don't recognize the crowd, but it doesn't look like Long Beach. And we beat them pretty soundly down there. Were you really? Yeah. Is this?
I don't know.
Okay. It doesn't look. You know, the Long Beach stands. They used to have them on the left-hand side as we were pushing out. On the tower side, you know, they had them up a ways, and everybody to hang over the edge of the thing. And when we got the zoomy headers, I pulled it right underneath that, and I'd blow their hats all off when I went by. Sort of like the first time we ran them, you know, the lighting down there left a little bit to be desired. And I pulled up to the starting line, and there's these 2 pillars of flames right where you got to look down alongside the supercharger. Oh, man, that's really something. How are you going to see with that deal? Ding, the light bulb went on. The next time we were over at the Winter Nationals, I took Garlits' headers and loaded them with confetti. And we were still pushing the race cars, you know. And you pushed them pretty fast. So it'd turn over the engine real fast when you let out the clutch so you get a nice clean start. He let out the clutch, and the whole world turned to confetti in front of him and scared the hell out of him. And he was looking through the pits after me with a gun. I don't know why he thought it was me, but he seemed to think that for some reason. So that's my zoomy header story. That would be this here.
The Valvoline, the first, and the CT Strokers.
No, the CT Strokers was when Zeuschel and I were in partners.
Okay.
Then when the Valvoline went on there is when I took over the car myself, but it lasted very briefly. We had to have your hero and mine, Tommy Ivo, on the nose of the thing. It pays to advertise. I sign my emails, your hero and mine, by the way. That's where that comes from.
Now, this still has the Donovans on it. It was shortly after that you switched to the Mickey covers.
Yeah. And that all had to go with. The Donovan covers were really, it came from Zeuschel. But then we started running Mickey's rods and pistons. There's it looks like McCurry to me there, you know. Or Buddha belly, as I used to call him all the time. Be careful what you say; it might come back to haunt you. Yes, they used to tease me when I was skinny that I was so skinny I had to run around in the shower to get wet.
I told that one earlier because I love that.
Yeah. Well, I took care of that. You know, that's when they.
I think we all have.
That's when they changed over to IVO, standing for I'm very old. I don't know why they pick on me. I don't try anything to start the whole deal. Yeah, this was it. As you can see, my Pendleton. Yeah, oh yeah. That was, you know, we put that, what was it? You know who I mean, Enderley name, you know. almost 80. The lights are on, but nobody's home. You know how that deal goes. We put the bug catcher on the thing, and that ran 190 right away. Boy, we put him in business, you know. So that worked out really good. The as you can see the Pendleton shirt that I have on there. I was so skinny, I was cold all the time. So that was my uniform for the day. Most pictures that you see, I will have a Pendleton.
As you're getting out of that fire suit on the thing, the picture.
I had my Pendleton under the fire suit, you bet. See, that barn door, it was a monster. We took and put Tony Nancy's motor in my car, so we had one blown and one unblown motor. But the blown one, you know, you used to have to slide the clutch. You'd feed, it was slider clutch, but you had to do it with your foot. So it was a trick to slowly step into the throttle and slowly let out the clutch and leave on time. So that was the bad part of the whole thing. But that separated the men from the boys. Don't tell McEwen, but he used to be able to do it pretty good himself, you know. But I didn't say that.
So the barn door have a tendency to just...
It would hold stuck shut from the suction. And then all of a sudden, when you got beyond that, it would open all the way. So it was all on or all off. So we ran Tony's motor in my car at Long Beach and at San Fernando the next day, and the horsepower was uncontrollable. So we went back to the two side by side. We were just doing it. We used to do things on a lark all the time. You know, we were sitting there at Tony's shop one night at midnight, just before we went out and got our bacon and eggs. We talked all night, all the time. He went to England with us. We'd play canasta on the ship. Him, Jim Kelly, myself, and Tom McCurry, all night long. So we were both a bunch of night owls.
That's another.
But that's where all of that came.
Here's the
CT strokers. So there you, and then of course he's got the barn doors on it, and that was that's a dead giveaway too there at the same time. Yeah, well, you know, he wasn't too bad right there. I used to ride him pretty heavy about, you know, he wouldn't fit in the car because it was built for me, you understand. But anyway. And Ivo and Zeuschel, there we are. That's that 191. That's when we ran it on 7 cylinders, what I was telling you earlier about breaking that rocker arm. So it worked out pretty good.
Usually when they broke rocker arms, all kinds of stuff usually happened. You know?
Not really. You know, they weren't very picky in those days. I'd run when I was out on tour. I used to use Garlits up quite a bit, because he was always out to set a world record every time he run, and he'd run his national event combination all the time, which wasn't bad, because when he got to Indy, he knew what he was doing. I used to cut it way back because you couldn't get it to the ground. One time I had the bobbin out there, I had the hydrometer, and I dropped the bobbin into it and was waiting for it to settle, and I was kneeled down looking at it. And Garlits pushed me on the shoulder and pushed me over to one side, and I fell over because I was balancing on my legs, and he looked at it, and I had 25% in it. And he says, "Jesus, Ivo, don't blow it up." But it worked. That's all you could get to the track. So I weak-dogged him to death all the time. Awful. Awful.
Yeah, they were really hard.
I mean, you could reach out and touch each other in the lights, you know. So it was, oh no.
Those were the days.
No, boy, were they ever. If we won the match, if Don won, if the Rat won the match race, we'd go out to dinner afterwards. If I won, that was it. He'd cover me with heel dust. He was out the gate before I could even get back to the pitch, you know, that deal.
This is some of the other, no, this is the...
Yeah, this is, there we are, that's the Zeuschel car.
No, this is the Moody car.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's right. When he changed, they had the...
You had a tail that was very similar.
It was it. It wasn't it. Wayne Ewing, who built the body. They'd go down to California Metal Shapers and have them do the rough work, and then they'd glue it all together. Well, when we built that car, well, what I did was I built the Streamliner. It didn't work, and I had to leave on tour in 2 weeks. So I needed a body right away. I knew Wayne had those wings, so I went over and bought them from him, and then had Hannah glue it all together for me. And with those wings, he could build a dragster body in 2 days. I went down to San Diego to pick it up, and he was sitting propped up against the wall with spots in front of his eyes. He hadn't been to bed since I dropped the thing off, but he put it all together, and that's where that chartreuse car came from. Don't paint a car green. It was chartreuse.
That was chartreuse metal flake, wasn't it?
Metal flake, yeah.
All your other cars before that had either been red or candy red.
Yeah, it was just, Carter talked me into it. He says we can put this flake glass in it, and it just glistens at night. Boy, was that heavy. That stuff must have been an 1/8 inch thick. Garlits used to call my cars Euclids all the time. A farm machinery Euclid. But with all the candy apple and all that stuff on there, especially that metal flake, you'd pick it up from Carter's and I'd say, wow, is this thing heavy? But it worked, I paid attention to the fans on how it looked as well as how it ran, and it seems to have paid off. Who else builds 4-motor cars and trailers with glass in the side of them,
One of the stories, in fact, I think I told it here, was I once saw you at the Hot Rod reunion and told you that one of my favorite cars was the Video Liner, at which time you just like that. But you got to remember, I was only 13, 14, and when I saw that at Fernando, it looked like a rocket ship.
Yeah.
You kept telling me, but the rocket wanted to turn around backwards.
Yeah, well, see, when we went to England racing, Steve Swaja, was Tony Nancy's faithful dog, and McCurry was my faithful dog. So he designed Streamliners for both me and Garlits on the way going over there. So I built mine, not knowing, I thought, well, that looks plenty swoopy. But a teardrop, when you drop it, it's big in the front and goes to a tail as it falls through the air. Well, with the big tires in the back and the small front end, we built a reverse teardrop, and that's where everything went wrong. So it was trying to turn around in the lights. So that's why mine didn't work,